All right, good morning, everyone. So this is good morning to you also, Barak, and to the others who are here. So I was kind of expecting more people here today, considering there are supposed to be, I believe, 9 people in this class. And the reason why I bring that up is because of something that we'll talk about as part of what we'll be doing in this course for this semester. One of the things that, let me say first off, is because this is a smaller course, smaller meeting than maybe an undergraduate course, especially like my 101, 102 lecture that has over 100 people registered for it. Because this is a much smaller group and because it's a graduate level course, I will expect much more participation, much more discussion. I do not want this to be in any way me just telling you what to think or me just speaking the whole time and you guys just listening the whole time. I really want this to be a discussion-based meeting time. In fact, one of the things that for anyone that I don't think anyone in this course has had this course before. I think this is a one-time thing for many of you. You may even notice that I named the files. If you go into the class materials folder and you look at the slides for this course, you may even notice that I changed the name of it from lecture to meeting. So there's because I don't want this to be a lecture. I want this to be a gathering of intellectuals, a gathering of academics to be able to discuss important topics. All right, so actually, so I've shared the screen here with the slide with the view here. So let me go ahead and talk through some of the logistics of this course. So how we'll be meeting this semester and things like that. All right, so this is our plan for this semester. This meeting will be meeting on Microsoft Teams for the duration of the semester on Mondays at 9:30. I would expect that you guys, as well as me, so it's in the schedule as 9:30 to 12:30. I would be surprised if any of us can stay on a consistent meeting for 3 hours. So there may be some Mondays where we have a lot of material to cover, and so therefore, or the discussion just gets really good, and we have to stay on the call for 3 hours. But I would say most often this time will not last the full 3 hours, but again, don't expect it to end that early. Just understand that, I think many of us after a couple of hours on a call like this, your brain starts not working so well, right? And so I don't want that to happen with us. So this is my information. I do have an office in the computer engineering building on the 2nd floor. I'm not sure how often my office hours there are. Wednesday 11:30 to 1:30. I'm trying to figure out what office hours looks like in the current situation. Because a big reason why none of the courses are face-to-face. Well, there are some. I talked to a person in another department just yesterday that their courses, some of them are face-to-face. But a big part of that is because of the uncertainty in housing and stuff like that around. So I will plan to be available. Basically, what I would say is my plan is to be available and not make any other appointments or not make any other required things that I need to do from Wednesdays 11:30 to 1:30. So if you need to contact me, you can either message me through Teams, and I should be able to have a much faster response time during those hours. Obviously, if I'm meeting with another student during that time, then that would be a different story. But My plan is to be available, is to not have other things that I'm working on during those 2 hours. Okay. If you need to contact me, you can either message me through Microsoft Teams, or you can email me at the university email address that I've provided here. We'll talk a bit about that aspect, about the communication aspect, in just a moment. So this course objectives part is something that's written in OBS. Now, a lot of the bullet points here are related to the scientific research and scientific writing aspects of this course. I tried to make this course about 50% heavy on the scientific research and writing aspect of the logistics, the how to do research and how to do writing of things like that. I also try to make sure this course is 50% of the ethical side as well, because part of who was it? Was it Nietzsche? There's a quote about something about them. A man can do any how as long as he knows the why, or something. I have to look it up, but it's basically the idea that if we have good ethical practices as part of who we are, as part of why we do things, then a lot of the other logistical parts will come out of that, right? You will do good scientific research if you understand the reasons for why we do it that way in the first place, and not necessarily just, well, it's the law says to do it that way, so that's why I do it that way. You know, it's really the why. The why am I doing things the way that they're being done? All right. So anyway, 50% on the research aspect and the writing aspect, 50% on the ethical aspect is kind of how I try to make this happen. Okay. There is a textbook associated with this course. A lot of the slides will come from, or a lot of the material will come from that. There's actually another book not specifically related to scientific research that I picked up during the break between the semesters that I'm interested in seeing how that may modify some of the things that I will talk about in this course, but I'm in the process of reading through that, so I didn't include it here. Make sure you join the 5092 course. I think both of the students from the 7092, the doctoral students, have joined this course, so we're fine there. We will do pretty much all of my communication will be through Teams or email. So make sure that like anything that's announcements that's just kind of broadcast for all the course, for all the students in the course, will be done through Teams through an announcement. I would say anything probably specific to you, I'm likely to email you, honestly. I'm old, right? I'm an older person, and so Teams chat is just harder for me to get into using it for important correspondence, right? Also, email allows us to have subject lines, so therefore it's easier for me to organize different messages than Teams is. So anyway, but I do want to make sure that you know that I consider it your responsibility to check frequently for anything like updates or announcements regarding this course. I say that because I've had plenty of students in the past, not usually the graduate students, although it has happened, but I have had students in the past who have contacted me to say, oh, I didn't know that we had an assignment due, or I didn't know that we had needed to do this, or I didn't know about something. And then I'll say, well, I made an announcement on Teams. I'm like, oh, I didn't read it, you know, and I don't want to feel like, I don't want you to think that if I make a special announcement for this course that I need to contact you personally, right? I have a lot of students. Like I said, in my 102 course, I have over 100. I'm also teaching the database course, which also this semester has over 100 too. And then also teaching 2 graduate courses as well. So, you know, I have a lot of students I'm dealing with, right? I don't really have the time or the ability to be able to personally contact each student anytime I need to make an announcement. All right, so I need you to make sure that you take it upon yourself to check the course regularly, to check the Teams channels regularly, to make sure that you are keeping up with anything that is going on. Okay, and I would encourage you to do that for all of your courses, not just mine, but for any other course that you're taking as well with any other professor. All right. Nice thing about Teams, you can get it on your mobile phone, on your Android or Apple phone or device, or if you have a tablet, and you can set it to where you get notifications whenever I make an announcement. All right, so yeah, so check that out. Grading is going to be kind of simple, I think. Again, I said I wanted this to be a discussion-based course, so I really want you. Oh, did I do a typo there? Oh, thank you. Is it? Do you go by Ramazan or Borak? That's a good question. I use Borak. Okay, so Borak, thank you for that. I do need to go ahead and I'll change that. So let's see it. All right, so should be B23, I think, right? Is where we are. 23B. Okay, they change this up every time they do this. 23. The main thing I'm trying to say here when I use the different courses is that there's two different courses that are meeting together. One is the master's level 5092. One is the doctoral level 7092 that we're meeting together in one group. And I want to make sure that since Teams won't allow me to host two meetings at the same time for two different teams, then I need to have everybody in one place so that I can have one meeting. Okay, so that's basically what that is. I'm sorry for the typo there. Let's see, where were we? Oh, back to grading. All right, so like I said, I want this to be a discussion-based group, and so discussion contribution, which will be lots of different ways. I'm going to I want you to weigh in on the discussion. I want you to give your input as I ask questions, as other students ask questions. I want you to ask questions. One of the things as we'll talk about the nature of how this course is going to be discussed, is that the ethical side of the discussion. So every week, what we will do is we will have the scientific research discussion portion, where we specifically talk about some aspect of perhaps how to do research, or how to write a problem statement, or how to write, how to develop a hypothesis, how to compile your conclusions. We'll have a discussion about that, but then we will also have a particular ethical, what I will call maybe like an ethical, not a dilemma always, but an ethical discussion. And what that will look like is perhaps I will give an ethical dilemma question, right? So if for those of you who maybe have thought about these things in the past, and maybe if you know things like the trolley problem, for example, is an example of an ethical dilemma. The just war theory is another example of an ethical dilemma. And so the thing about these is I don't particularly believe that there is a one right answer to these questions. And so what we will do during that time is we will talk about them, and I will ask for you to give your opinion or your understanding of how these things work, and I'll expect that you guys will have questions as well of each other, right? Because if there's one thing that often happens in these things is you get a group of people together and they don't always see things the same way. They don't always agree, and so you will need to. I would expect you guys to be asking each other questions. All right. There will be some individual assignments that I will give as well in regards to this course, and so that will be 30% of that. And then there will be actually 2 papers and a presentation on one of them that will happen towards the end of the semester. I'll explain more about that. I don't think I have that slide ready just yet, but I might. I can't remember if I finished that one this semester or not. But you'll have 2 papers, one short paper, one long paper, and then your presentation will be related to your long paper, and we'll talk more about that. Attendance, all right, so I'm not going to take attendance in the traditional way of just saying, you know, who's here, you know, kind of like that. Although Teams does allow me to download a spreadsheet of those who joined the call. Also, it doesn't just say this person joined the call, period. It actually gives a join time and a leave time. So, you know, if a student were to join, what time is it now? Like 5 minutes still. So if a student were to join at 9:55 and then were to leave the call at 9:56, like it would show me that, right? And so I can look at that, but really the way that I'll understand whether or not you were there as far as the 10% contribution, the class participation part of the grading, is you'll talk, you'll write messages in the chat for this channel, for this class, and that will tell me, you know, how much you contributed, right? Is how much did you talk through your microphone, or how much did you message things related to the discussion, right? And so make sure you ask and answer questions, right? Because to me, this is an important part of the learning process. Okay. So homework assignments. My standard practice is I'll set a due date and a time. Usually it'll be midnight. So like I think Teams allows me to do 11:59 so that it's like if it shows up on the next day at all, it shows up as late. Let me encourage you to not wait to submit homework assignments. My standard practice is 10% for each day, so and then not to accept it at all after 2 days. So if you turn it in a day late, that's 10% off. If you turn it in 2 days late, that's 20% off. If you turn it in 3 days late, I don't take it. That's my standard practice. Obviously, if you have extenuating circumstances, a medical issue, or something of that nature, some excuse, some approved excuse, then please let me know that so that we can make arrangements. But that's my standard practice as far as accepting late submissions. But again, let me suggest that you get things done early. Technological issues, I mean, we live in an amazing age of high-speed internet, but at the same time, I also know that it's not instantaneous and not always working either. I've had a number of students who have gotten 10% off because their homework was submitted a day late because it showed up at, it maybe showed up at 12:01, right? But but I clicked submit at 11:59. Well, but it took time for it to upload or whatever. Or I've had students who, well, I tried to submit it at 11:55, but the electricity went out of my house. Okay, and that's why I say plan ahead. Plan for that a problem like that might happen, and basically get it done early, right? So that if the electricity goes out, you have time to figure out an alternative solution to be able to get it in on time. All right. Again, a semester paper will be given. We will talk about this by the 3rd week of class, which actually is now next week. So we should be talking about this no later than next week. So I'll plan to give details of that project next week. Okay. Hopefully I don't have to discuss this too much in a class that's about ethics, but I have no problem with people who talk about and discuss topics outside of class. Discuss this stuff with your other students, discuss this stuff with me, discuss with your friends, with your family. I have no problem with that, right? But there is a place where we can take someone else's work, someone else's writing, and claim it as our own, and that is not okay, right? That is the place where it's not even about, to me, it's not even about the university says it's not okay. It's not even about that you might get punished in some way with a 0 on an assignment or anything like that. It's just not what engineers do, right? You know, engineers do not take credit for someone else's work. And so, and for anyone who's had me in an undergraduate course or even in another graduate course, you know that I often talk about what it means to be an engineer, that I take a lot of pride in being able to have that title. I feel that it is a title that is not given, but it is a title that is earned. And we earn it by doing things well, and we earn it by making mistakes and learning from our mistakes. All right. And so anyway, it is okay not to get things right. It is not okay to get a right answer on a test because you got it from someone else. All right. Oh wait, I have a question here in the chat. Let's look. It actually will be general, not specifically technical, because in fact, a lot of the material for this text actually comes from, there's a lot of material in it related to stuff like doing surveys and more actually non-technical research. So there's some material related to how to do surveys, how to do, it talks about animal testing as well at one point. And so it's actually more of a general discussion on how to do research. Yeah, so I hope that answers that question. Because I don't know how many of you are in here, but I know that quite a few of the professors in our department actually work pretty closely with the hospital on campus to do medical-based research, so medical-based computing research. And so there's a lot of stuff related to the medical side of things that they would need to know in order to make sure that they do appropriate, not just ethical research. Ethical is definitely important there, but also how to stay within the bounds of legal and how to stay also to make sure that they know that their conclusions are valid, right? And so we'll talk about that some, but yeah, good question. That it's not just about the computer science side, but it's about the general ethics of doing scientific research and general good practices of how to do scientific research. Okay. So this is the tentative. I think this is the right. Yeah. Okay. So we're actually. Let's see here. Actually here in this week. So we're going to be. We may have to combine 2 weeks together. Also, if there's a Ramazan Bayram here, we may have to figure out that too. I'm not sure of when Ramazan Bayram officially ends, so I don't know what the plan is for the April 24th meeting. But you know, hopefully we'll know that within the next couple of weeks. But you know, we've lived in Turkey long enough to know that sometimes those things are not decided until a week or two before, right? And so, but where we are right now, March 6th, so we should be here on determining the research topic. I have not prepared that discussion for today yet, so we're going to try to push that off for the next week, and we may end up having to do 2 discussions in 1 week at one point. But this is the plan for how to do this. Yeah, we may also take some of these later topics and just push them back and not necessarily get to them. All right. You'll also notice I've put here this presentations of term paper. I've put it across 2 weeks. We may end up having to do 3 depending on the situation. Like I said, there's 9 students that are registered for the 2 courses here. I think that's right, 9. And what I normally would like to do is have 4 students on each week, because I want to give you around a half an hour to be able to give your presentation. And so if that were to be 4 and 4, we would still have to put somebody over here, but we may end up just being able to do 4 and 5 or something like that. But like I said, we'll plan that out. I'll plan that out towards the middle of the semester here. All right. Okay, again, if you need to contact me, probably email is the best way. Make sure that you give me a good subject before the email. I've had students that have had no subject at all. They just leave the subject line blank. I kind of jokingly compare that to in a horror movie when someone goes to open a door and you don't know what's on the other side of that door. That when I go to open an email with no subject, I don't know what's on the other side of that email, and it could be anything, right? And so at least give me a heads up as to advance notice of what the email I'm about to read is about. Also, I encourage you, and I would like you to use in this part of the email is what course you're contacting me about. I have a lot of students. I have students that I'm advising as well that aren't in any courses. Please include the course number so I know, so I can kind of organize the emails as well. All right. I had a student just a couple of days ago wrote me. That's also why email can be better than Teams. Wrote me on Teams concerning one of my courses. I thought they were talking about the 102 course. It was actually something else. And so it was actually the database course, and I didn't know that because they didn't tell me what course they were contacting me about. So please include that. Also, I've had other students who have included the entire text of the email in the subject line. Right, and that makes it very difficult for me to read, makes it very difficult for me to be able to respond to it. So please don't do that. All right, just a short, like a course number, short subject of what it is you're contacting me about, and then in the body of the email, write the email itself. Okay. I will do everything within my power to respond within 24 hours business day. I have lots going on. I might not always respond to your email immediately. Sometimes I do, but I can't promise that. And so I do try to respond to around at least I try to do 100%, but I'm probably pretty good about 90%, 99% of the time being able to respond within 24 hours of a business day. So that means that if you contact me, let's see, what time is it, 10 o'clock on Monday. If you were to email me right now, I would most likely, I could reasonably, if I were you, expect a response by 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Okay. Anything beyond that means I might have lost the email or might have or something like that. So you might want to, if you contact me once and it goes 2 days without me responding to it and you need a response, if it goes 2 days, contact me again. I might have lost it, or something may have happened or something like that. Might have gotten to the spam folder for all I know. Sometimes that happens. Okay. But also, I say business day, that's Monday through Friday, which means if you contact me on Friday at like 10 a.m., I might not respond until Monday at 10 a.m. So if you need, and this shouldn't be too big of an issue with this course, but in some of my other courses, especially for any of you, I don't think any of you are in my undergraduate courses too, but if you, for some reason, if there's an assignment due or there's something due and you need a response sooner, then please contact me sooner, right? So So make sure you don't wait till the last minute to contact me if you need a response. Okay. Especially, let me point out about grading. So we have a deadline every semester that all grades besides the final exam have to be turned in and completed before the final exam period starts, right? Which means that if there's a concern about a grading, so if in this case it would be if there was an assignment grade or a participation grade that is posted to OBS or posted to Teams, and you have a concern or you have, well, why did I get 80 when I expected 90, you know, whatever, something like that. You need to contact me sooner rather than later about that, because after a certain point, I can't do anything about it. Okay, so I've had students in the past who have contacted me during the middle of the final exam period to ask me about, you know, assignment 2 in the course. Why did I get this grade on it? Well, and sometimes the sad thing is sometimes that their question is legitimate and really the grade should have been higher than what they got. But by that point, there's nothing we can do about it, right? And so please contact me within a reasonable amount of time. Okay. Keep up with the course, right? So again, let me see how many people are on the course. So I've got 5 of you on the call. That's just over half. So please join the meetings when they're in place, unless, of course, like if you've contacted me, you have some approved reason for why you can't be here, then let me know that. But please keep up with the course. When you don't know something, ask. Again, I've lived in Turkey for 9 years. I am still working very hard to learn Turkish. And I know that a course of this level would be difficult for me to follow in a second language, right? And so I know for many of you, English is not your primary language. Probably all of you, actually, English is probably not your first language. And so I know that it could be difficult. So if I'm speaking too fast, which I do sometimes, if I use language or explain something in a way that you don't understand, please stop me and ask, can you clarify this, or can you speak more slowly? I will not take any offense. Because my biggest thing is I want you guys to be able to understand what we're doing here and what we're talking about. Yeah. What again, like I said before, I take a lot of pride in being an engineer and having that title. And one of the things that I think engineers are really good at is failing. I think we are really good at failing and learning from those mistakes and making things better because we risked failure, right? And I think when you risk failure, you fail sometimes, right? And one of the things that we do well is we do not fear failure. And so I encourage you to attempt, right? Say something. Say, when we're having a discussion, say something that might sound weird or sound crazy to another person, right? And then be able to talk it through and be able to understand. And I say that in regards to the ethical side of the discussion, right? Because again, I would be very surprised if on some of these ethical dilemma discussions that we'll have, I would be very surprised if everyone in the call completely agreed, right? Especially if we are able to, I don't know if all of you are Turkish, but especially if we're able to get like some different countries, different parts of the world, all have different cultures, all have different ways of viewing the world. Even different parts of this country have different ways of viewing the world. In fact, just even like the way we do things like eat food or drink coffee. So actually the reason why we didn't meet last week was I was actually able to go with a group to do some feeding of people in Antakya in the Hatay region. And I found out for the first time in my 9 years of living here in Turkey that people in that region, the way they drink their coffee, the Türk kahvesi, is in what the chai glasses, right? And so I was able to enjoy that for the first time in my life, and so just even that is a difference. Like that's how they do things, right, in that region. So anyway, all that to say, what I was getting at with that is different people from different parts of the world and different parts of the same country do things differently, right? And so, yeah, and so be able to talk through your understandings of how you would view a certain thing. All right. All right, so that's the end of the syllabus discussion. Also, there's a PDF of the syllabus available on the course class materials stuff. Are there any questions related to this before I'll go ahead, and since it's 10:15, we'll take a quick break. Then what my plan was, what we'll do is we'll have a brief kind of an example ethical discussion. It was an example that a friend of mine gave me a few years ago as a way to intro kind of how an ethical dilemma discussion might happen. So, are there any questions before we take our break and then come back? Okay, yeah, that's my thought too, Budak. So 2 Budaks in the class. Okay. All right, so what we'll do is, again, we'll take a break in about 10:25. I'll give you guys a 10-minute break. 10:25, we'll come back and I'll set up a example discussion of how we might talk through an ethical dilemma. All right, see you guys in 10 minutes.